Hi everyone, my name is Faye Brown. I've been teaching on Skillshare for a fair few years now, and in this short video I'm going to be sharing some top tips with you on creating your class cover image. So in this video we will cover what is a cover image, cover image styles, typography and technical considerations.
What's a cover image? Well, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Your cover image is the image that will appear with your class title when people are searching for your classes. Let's take a look at the creative classes on Skillshare. And as you can see, there's a whole variety of styles used for the cover image. Some have the title of the class included, some show an image of the teacher alongside a relevant image of what they will be teaching, and some simply have one photograph to represent their class. First up, there's no right or wrong way. The most important thing to consider is that your cover image needs to 1. Represent the content of your class, 2. Stand out for the right reasons, which I'll come back to, and 3. Set the tone of how you present whilst looking professional and high quality. If we take a quick look at the technology classes on the featured page, we might quickly get a good idea about what some of these classes are about and possibly the style. We can clearly see that this class by Daniel Scott is about Dreamweaver, and this class by Rich Armstrong looks super fun. So take a little time to just look through the homepage on Skillshare and within each section to see the different styles, and then go specifically into an area where your class would sit and imagine your cover image amongst these classes. There's a balance between fitting in and yet standing out. Here's an example of what I mean. One of my classes from the Freelancing Guide series is featured here in this section at the moment. Now imagine if the cover image looked like this. It would stand out, you'd definitely notice it, but what would your first impression of the class be? Would you actually click it and take it seriously for this subject matter? So that's what I mean by fitting in to a certain extent. There are ways to stand out, which we will talk about throughout this video. Cover image styles. Getting your cover image right can help the success of your class. Over the years that I've taught on Skillshare, I've used a variety of designs and styles. Some have used full graphics, some I've included a picture of me, some have used some objects to help illustrate the content of the class. Some have included the amount of minutes the class lasts, or if there's some free downloadable items. Some classes are part of a series, so I've tried to make them all look like they belong to the same family. There are other teachers on Skillshare who make sure all their cover images are coherent and look on brand to them. For example, Omar's beautiful cover images all look like they belong to her. This helps create familiarity. If you've taken her class before and you get a newsletter with one of her new classes featured, there's a good chance you'd recognise her style straight away and be drawn to her cover image. I often think about doing something similar, but then maybe it's not the right thing for everyone. My class about designing a superhero logo is quite tongue-in-cheek and fun. And although it teaches you a lot about designing logos, the style and content is a lot different to my class on managing your finances for freelancers, for example. The advice I would give is think about your class. Is it likely to become a series of classes about a similar topic? And if so, bear that in mind when designing that first cover image. It needs to be adaptable to the next class. For the Branding Your Creative Business class, I knew I wanted to make this into a series of classes, so I kept the design easy enough to add a different strapline or change slightly depending on the topic. Superhero logo design is a standalone class. Other than making it into a series of princess logo designs or pirate logo designs, I won't be expanding on this topic of superheroes, so I could make that cover image a standalone one. Some of my images have the number of minutes. I don't think this is necessary now. These classes were published at a time where Skillshare promoted bite-sized classes, but now it's quite easy to see the length of a class under the image. So you might be debating about whether to use a photo of you or an action image of you at work. I think this can add personality to your class, and if your class does have a lot of footage of you talking to camera or showing footage of you at work, then having a cover image with you included somewhere fits in with your class content. Some of my classes there's hardly any footage of me talking to camera, whereas others there's more. If you do use a photo, make sure it's great quality. Remember that cover image needs to reflect the quality of your class. Typography. I want to talk a little bit about how to use text on your cover image. Personally, I like to add the class title on my cover images, but as we have seen, not everyone does. I think it helps people easily read what your class is about. You can also include a tagline if you wish. This is also beneficial if you're using your cover image outside of Skillshare to promote it. If you promote it on Facebook or Instagram, for example, you'll want people to read the class title, and then you'll want the continuity when people get to Skillshare to sign up. So you need to take into account the sizes that your cover image will need to work. At its smallest, on the recommended list section on the homepage, the images seem very small, so bear that in mind when placing your text. You want the title to be easily read. The tagline might be a little bit harder to read at this size. Also take into account the image size when viewed on a smartphone. Use a typeface that's easy to read. When it's seen smaller, it will retain its readability better than a detailed decorative typeface. So this brings us on nicely to technical considerations. I tend to prep all my cover images at HD size, which is 1920 by 1080 pixels. This is just in case I ever need to use the image large anywhere. It's harder to create something bigger than saving something down smaller. But just remember to bear in mind how small your image might need to go. So try not to make it overly busy or use text that's hard to read. You will then need to edit the cover image into the first frame of your intro video of your class. This is where the cover image gets picked up from. I tend to make it the first image for a few seconds. And also remember to replace the automatic image that gets selected once you've uploaded your video by clicking this link here and uploading the still you need. I make my cover images in Photoshop. For the freelancing guide, I knew I wanted to make this into a series of classes, so I keep all the assets as layers. And then when I do another class in that series, I can easily go back into this file and change the images around. But the style stays consistent and the text can easily be changed into a new class title. I'll then save the PSD as layers and also save out a JPEG for using as my cover image. So let's just recap the main points to consider when designing your cover images. Make sure it represents the content of your class. Are you a photographer? Make it look like this class is about photography. Are you doing a class on calligraphy where you show lots of examples of writing? Make sure that comes across. Stand out for the right reasons. Remember that balance of fitting in but standing out. And set the tone of how you present whilst looking professional and high quality. If your class is fun, make your cover image look fun. If your class is quite serious in nature, then you'll want that cover image to reflect that.
I hope this little intro to cover images helps you, and good luck with your class creation.